Welcome back to Two Nobodies, everyone. Rupesh is here again. Pleasure to be with you guys all, and just looking forward to our next conversation. You know, in our podcast, from time to time, we've had conversations about health, the environment, all kinds of different things. This is going to be an interesting one. This is something I have no touch point on. I've never learned about this field, and just really excited to have our next guest, Tom Paladino. Tom, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Two Nobodies. Excited for the conversation about this field of research and all the work that you do, and just getting to know you as a person.
Okay, likewise, Rupesh. Thank you for the invitation.
You bet. So I want to get into this field of research, your scalar energy research, but I want to understand a little bit more about you as a person and how do you even get into this field, and what's that path look like? Do you have like a health background? What does that all look like for you?
Now, this is the path less traveled. I research with scalar energy, what some people call Tesla energy or zero-point energy. And before we get into the discussion, it's a new and emerging technology, and this is not electricity. There's two energies in the universe. And you will not that I know of, find any college textbook that addresses scalar energy in a serious and consummate fashion. So it's new, it's groundbreaking. Yeah. How did I get into this? I was inspired by Tesla in this world, Nikola Tesla, and I've been inspired by God.
And so that's but was there something that you did before this research? Like, was there a profession that you were taking on, and then what was that shift? What happened there?
Well, my entire life, ever since I was 10, 11 years of age, I always wanted to walk in the footsteps of Tesla and recreate some of Tesla's experiments, his work. So that's always been the center point. That's always been the motivating force. What have I done? Well, I've been in sales. I've been in marketing. I've owned a few businesses in the past. So I had to pay the bills in between, so to speak. So my point is this: on account of the fact that this is a new and emerging science, there's no commerce wrapped around this. This is, again, a unique approach that I have. I'm trying to introduce this to mankind.
Yeah.
It's slow going. You know, I'm sure the person that had the first iPhone or the first computer, I'm sure that was slow going for them. Well, it's slow going for me. It takes time to build up that momentum. So I'm a regular guy. I'm a 9-to-5 guy who's had to work throughout his life. Now Now at this stage of my life, I can devote myself almost entirely to scalar energy research, and now I'm making a lot of progress.
Yeah, that's amazing. What is it about Nikola Tesla that fascinated you?
Just a super genius.
Yeah.
His gift from God. He could envision, he could actually have an intellectual vision and see an invention. Many times in his words, Tesla said he would never have to visit the laboratory. He would actually have this, what I would consider divine inspiration. He would see an invention in his mind and he would simply engineer it. That's just unheard of.
That is unheard of. Yeah, I don't know much about him, and so it's fascinating to know someone who really has followed him and has used him as an inspiration. Do you own a Tesla? This is as a funny side point.
I do not. Sadly, with the crunch in cars right now, that you can't find computer chips. I predict that the Tesla will really become popular in the next 12 months because there are no computer chips. I was just at an automobile dealership having my oil change.
Yeah.
Everybody there lamented that they can't get in new cars. So what is my point? Well, it's not about computer chips. It's about how technology has to evolve. We have to start making progress. And if we're simply going to have a combustion engine for the next 200, 300 years, that's just not going to cut it.
No, for sure not. Yeah. I wonder what Nikola Tesla would say about, how things have progressed, but certainly that particular company and whether he would have wanted his name attached to it. And I would imagine so. I mean, just the innovative things that company is doing, and the vision that Elon Musk has had on that and as other explorations. I would imagine he would have been impressed by that.
Any progress, I applaud. Any step in the right direction. So we have to give Elon Musk credit. I don't agree with his philosophy in life, but at least his car is changing the industry.
Yeah. Scalar energy itself. I mean, I studied, like you said, it's not in any conventional textbooks. I mean, I studied physics in my undergrad, and part of my background was a kinesiologist, so I studied biomechanics. I mean, just never heard of this field, but that doesn't necessarily mean that obviously it doesn't exist. Why is that? Like, what are conventional physicists and mathematicians saying about this field?
What's so difficult about scalar energy? Nobody can measure it. And frankly, I think it can never be measured. I think it's an infinite energy. I think it's consciousness. I think it's the intelligence of the universe. Now, if you look at electricity, you can measure it by volts.
Right.
You can measure the hertz, the frequency. But with scalar energy, it's everywhere. So it's an infinite value. How can you measure something that's an infinite value? You can't. You can observe the cause and effect relationship. Anyway, to make a long story short, scalar energy is invisible. I don't believe it can be measured. No gauge has ever been developed to measure it. And so this puts the scientific community at a disadvantage, because then it just is a theoretical construct. If you can't measure it, if there's no way to actually observe it, you can't. As far as I'm concerned, it cannot be observed in and of itself. That's the disadvantage.
You mentioned consciousness, and another set of terms comes to mind, and I wonder how it differs. Is quantum healing? Like, I think Deepak Chopra may have been one of the original proponents or people talking about this, and he talks about how consciousness can alter, your body's state. Is there any sort of relationship between scalar energy and the work that you do and quantum healing, or is it a completely different field?
It's identical. Okay. Many people say that they have healing hands. If you ever think of that, well, what does that mean? What do you mean you have healing hands? Why does a hand heal you? Well, it's not the hand. It's the energy from the hand that's emanating. And even great healers like Jesus would place his hand upon you.
Right.
What's the point? It's the healing of the energy. It's the light. It's scalar light. It's scalar energy that heals. So, yes, many people speak of quantum healing. They're absolutely right. It's non-physical consciousness. And this is what we really have to now grab and understand. We're not working with the movement of electrons, electricity. There's no magnetic lines of force. This is a different energy. And it requires a different philosophy, a different understanding of nature. So I'm going to lay the ground rules here. There's two dimensions. There's two realities. I mean that. There's two realities. And the world we see and we recognize, by and large, is the Newtonian physics, the electromagnetic paradigm.
Right.
There's another model. There's another paradigm. There's another reality, which is scalar energy, in which you'll experience anti-gravity. Scalar energy in which you can transcend time and space. Scalar energy in which you can tap into consciousness. It's the superior paradigm. If everybody lived in a scalar energy paradigm, it would be perfection.
Now, is it so? I think of again, going back to the consciousness piece, and I don't know anything about this, but I wonder, and you say it's a different field, so maybe you can't, but things like EEG, I don't know if you know what EEG is, like how they measure the waves off the brain. Like, is it just a matter of that one day we will have some sort of technology that will be able to measure this, or is that just not even possible at all?
Well, maybe we will have some type of technology that will measure scalar energy in a local setting, such as EEG. For instance, when we're looking at the biorhythms of the body,
Mm-hmm.
those are electromagnetic markers. And that's fine, that's very real. But what I'm saying is the initial energy of the universe is scalar energy, whereas electricity and magnetism are derivative. So
Mm-hmm.
when we have these markers, these which are essentially electromagnetic in character, that's the derivative. That's the secondary energy of the universe.
Yeah.
So there's a prime mover, which is scalar energy. So what am I getting at? All the stars, the sun produce this primal force. There's only one primary energy, scalar energy. Electricity and magnetism are a subset or a derivative of scalar energy. And that's been proven by many researchers, myself included. So right now, in the world we live in, where we recognize electromagnetic energy, we're dealing with the secondary energy. We're dealing with the derivative, the offshoot. The primary energy is scalar energy. Now, to speak to your point, I think brainwaves, and even heartbeat are all governed by scalar energy.
Okay.
I believe the fact that we can think, we're creative, and that we have this process of deduction, we're illuminated. The fact that our heart beats, where is that information coming from? Think about that. Everybody has an incredible mind. Everybody has compassion, a heart, emotions. Where does all of that come from? It comes from God, and God imparts that by light. So scalar light allows us to think, to deduce. Scalar light is responsible for our heartbeat, our circadian rhythm.
So you're almost describing this as like almost like an instructive kind of energy. And so am I guess, instead of focusing on this secondary energy, why not focus on this sort of, I guess, this primary energy that's more instructive? Is that sort of the better way of focusing on things then in your mind?
Very good. So Tesla saw that in his career, and I agree with you. So I'm going to give you Tesla's example. Tesla started with AC electricity. But later in his life, he abandoned AC electricity. He was no longer inventing with electricity. If you look at his notes, read his notes, and understand his actions, the latter part of his life, he was working almost exclusively with zero-point energy or scalar energy. Now, why would he do that? Because he realized that he found the superior energy, which was scalar energy. He realized that it was free energy. See, later in his life, he built a tower in Long Island, New York. And that tower, he called it Wardenclyffe. And that tower was capturing scalar energy, star energy. And he was about to pronounce to the world that this tower could send out information or energy throughout the world from the stars. So Tesla had a free energy tower in Long Island, New York. And that's from that point forward, he was suppressed. From that point forward, his reputation was besmirched, his work was denigrated, because the powers that be did not want a free energy model.
I want to pick up on something else you said, which is this sort of divine force. So I sense there is, maybe a religious element to this. But I want to pick up on that plus you're saying that this primary force is instructive. My dad was somebody who really thought about the world as very, or how the universe works as very predetermined, and that there's this kind of, again, I guess he didn't frame it in the same way, but that something is guiding this at an atomic molecular level. And so I'm not saying that that's what you're saying, but I want to maybe see if there's any sort of relationship there, in that do you believe that everything is predetermined, and just picking up on how you describe this scalar energy is instructive.
Everybody has free will, so that's not predetermined. God gives everybody free will. It's our ability to make a decision. Everybody has that decision. Next, is the universe governed by laws? Yes. And what are those laws? They're scalar energy laws. From what I've discovered, scalar energy is the prime mover in the universe. It's the initial energy of the sun and the stars. Various researchers, myself included, believe that all light, all information, all light, all energy originates from the center of the sun or the center of stars. And the reason why that energy is all encompassing and infinite and unlimited is because it has to be scalar energy. In other words, scalar energy initiates everything. And the center point is the star, the very center of a star. So if you look at the universe and you say to yourself, what gives rise to the universe? What is it that allows us to have order out of chaos? It has to be the light. Light energy is the first principle. It's the cause. Well, what's the cause of light? It has to be God. God said, be light made. So what am I getting at? If we can control scalar energy, this is the tool, this is the paintbrush of God. Scalar energy is the first principle. It's a direct manifestation from God.
What are other, I guess, because is there, a Christian perspective to this, or like, are there other religions that would weigh in differently on this, or do you think they would approach this in a similar way?
Scalar energy is going to unify the world. What a Christian might call the presence of the Holy Spirit, another society, another philosophical viewpoint might be prana, chi, om, 0 point energy. Some societies, some groups might call that orgone energy. Others might just call that life force. Well, when all of these religions and philosophies and various ethnic groups realize that there's one animating force from God, it will unite mankind. We will see, no matter how we describe this, no matter what nomenclature we use, it's all God's light.
Yeah. How do you, is there any form of therapy with this, with scalar? Like, how do you use this to somebody's benefit? How does it help somebody, and how does it heal someone?
That's been my focus in the past 20 years, and eventually I'm going to branch out from that. I've developed a process with scalar energy instruments. And again, I'm not working with electricity. These are unique instruments in which I can actually work with a person's photograph with an instrument. This is my photograph. I would actually place this photograph inside a scalar energy instrument. Now, the instrument works through information. Okay, it's the intelligence of the universe. So the intelligence of the universe is found on my force field or on my light code, my light signature. So my photograph contains a scalar energy signature. It's not electrical. And I can send energy into that force field, and I can improve my health, my quantum health. Now, what am I saying? This is non-physical. It's an information system. I don't work with people. I work with photographs of people. So I'm not accessing the electromagnetic dimension. I am accessing a person's quantum dimension on a photograph. So per se, this is not medical science. This is not Western science. This is not Newtonian physics. This is the new science that we have to come to grips with, in which my photograph represents a holographic universe. I am incorporated onto my photograph. So there's two Toms, my flesh and blood, my quantum Tom. And this photograph is the exact identical quantum copy of me. So I don't work with myself. I work with my quantum copy, or my bilocated version. And I mean that quite literally. This photograph is my energetic copy. It's my energetic blueprint. And when I can access this energetic blueprint, I can change a disease pattern, or I can balance the chakras by way of this photograph. So I don't work with people. I only work with force fields. So think about that, what I'm getting at. This is not Newtonian physics. I only work with a signature on a photograph.
Hmm. That's so many questions. The first one, so I think you answered it, which is why wouldn't you do this in person? But my understanding from you is that you don't want that electromagnetic force to somehow interfere. Um,
Yes,
okay.
correct. I keep it very good. I keep this 100% scalar energy. I, to be quite blunt, I'm not a fan of electromagnetic energy. It's inefficient, it's dirty, it's filled with pollution, and it's not efficient information. It really is lacking. Whereas scalar energy is energy, infinite intelligence, and there's no pollution, there's no harm to it. I am no fan of electricity. There are deleterious side effects with electricity. Scalar energy has no negative consequence.
Okay. This is interesting. This is
This,
interesting stuff. This
yeah,
is
this is deep stuff. And I'm going to ask the audience to think of two paradigms. Again, I'm not working with the orange, which is electricity. I'm working with the apple, scalar energy. The orange is not the apple. So there's two realities. I mean that. As a physical human being, I am, if you will, within this Newtonian concept, I'm an electromagnetic being. I'm saying that there's two realities.
right.
I'm saying that at least I have identified the scalar energy component, my scalar energy composition on a photograph. So I would much rather work with a scalar energy environment than an electromagnetic environment.
Now that photo, how much does it matter in terms of, if does it have to be a true unedited photo? Like, what does that have to look like, and does that change the quantum field around somebody?
That's very good. It should be a photograph of some part of your skin. It could, preferably
Okay,
your face. As long as it's a true photograph and it hasn't been airbrushed to the
right.
point of no longer having a light signature. If this photograph has not been airbrushed, and this photograph has my light signature, if my fingerprint is unique, so is my light code or my light signature. So, to answer your question, as long as the photograph has not been airbrushed, it's valid. Next, the photograph always reports at the present moment. Now, this is where it's going to be somewhat counterintuitive. This photograph is 3 years old, perhaps, but it still reports exactly the present moment. Now, how could something that's 3 years old be in the present moment? Only by way of a holographic universe. So I am now in the present age. This photograph was taken 3 years ago, but this photograph presents and shows me in this current state, in the present mode. Meaning what? In a scalar energy environment, there is no time. There's only one time, the present moment.
Hmm.
Okay? So regardless of the age of the photograph always reports in the present moment. Now, that's not Newtonian physics. That's scalar energy physics.
Okay, what is a holographic universe?
I use that term to describe what begins with God, ends with God. In other words,
Okay,
scalar energy is omnipresent.
okay,
So if scalar energy is omnipresent and it connects everything, then there really cannot be one point and another point and multiple points. Rather, everything is already interconnected. So if this is a holographic universe, and I say it is, by virtue of that fact, you and I are interconnected. There's no distance between us. By an electromagnetic paradigm, there's a distance between us. That's why we need our two computers to talk to one another.
right.
If these were scalar energy computers, you and I would be in the same room. There would be no distance. So a holographic universe connects, concatenates, everything is interconnected.
Right.
So if everything is interconnected, everything is one. Everything is one. That's, a Christian might call that the mystical body of Christ. Scientists call that quantum entanglement, in which two objects can communicate with one another instantaneously. Regardless of the distance, It's been shown that two objects can communicate with one another instantaneously. Why? It's a scalar energy, instantaneous communication.
Can because the way you described it, electromagnetic energy. If we're all working with that, can that change the scalar energy? Can people work with the electromagnetic side of things to change the scalar energy?
What I've experienced, the two are distinct.
Okay.
You might have an electromagnetic field and a scalar field. They both can coexist, but one will not override the other, so to speak. They're two distinct dimensions.
Yeah. Okay. Because what I'm thinking about is like prayer, right? And let's say you had, whether it be one person praying or a huge gathering of prayer, is there? I would imagine that would be on the electromagnetic side of things. No. Okay.
I believe. I don't mean to be rude. I believe prayer is that very quintessence. That's why prayer is so effective. That's why positive thinking is so effective.
Mm-hmm.
Scalar energy.
Okay.
Now consider the fact that thought or prayer moves throughout the universe instantaneously.
Yeah.
And prayer and thought can never be it's unlimited. And it can never die off, so to speak. So you have to describe all action by either two events, scalar or electromagnetic.
Yeah.
So thought and prayer never dies, transcends time and space. It's sublime. It's got to be scalar.
Yeah. So you've heard of like the law of attraction?
Yes, it's true.
Okay. And so couple what you're talking about with scalar energy and the law of attraction. What's the relationship there then?
It's identical. That's it.
Okay.
What is the animating force of the law of attraction? Scalar energy. When you project, when you think of an environment, or when you wish for something or pray upon something, this is what you're attracting. This is what you're asking for. So your thoughts eventually become physical reality. Okay? Your thoughts become physical reality. This is why you have to pray a good deal, why you have to associate with the right people, because those people have your best intentions at heart. You have to be positive. Okay? It doesn't mean you live in a world of fantasy. What works, works. What doesn't work, doesn't work. But that law of attraction is a great example of scalar energy in action, in which thought, in which the direction, in which the instruction leads to the result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tom, I know you've done a lot of interviews with people. Is the reaction of those hosts similar to mine, where it's just sometimes hard to find words because I sound like a bumbling idiot, I feel like? But
you're not. You're a genius, and everybody listening to this show is a genius. And here's the only impediment: we just don't realize that there's two realities. Once people realize that there's something more than electromagnetic energy, then we're going to finally say, "Aha! Now I understand." I'll give you an example. Some people call it intuition or clairvoyance, or I've got a hunch about something. How do people know of a future event? It's by scalar intelligence, because scalar energy is in every time setting. And if you're prophetic, or you know that you can predict the outcome, how do you know that? How's that possible? Because scalar energy is coming to you. These instructions are coming to you. You know, I've spoken to some people, they have a hunch about a person. They like a person, their personality, or another person they just don't feel comfortable about. Well, that's scalar energy telling you the difference between a good person and a questionable person or an evil person. You know, how is it? I use this example frequently. Mozart apparently could write composition at age 5. Okay, I could not write a composition, a musical composition at age 5. I could do other things, but I did not have that scalar gift.
Right.
Why was Mozart composing at age 5? He had a scalar gift from God. You've heard of some savants who can solve mathematical problems in their head without a calculator. I cannot do that. That's not my gift. How do you do that? You know, I would need a calculator. They have a gift from God. So what's the point here? Everybody has some type of genius. Everybody is a genius. And once we realize that the intelligence, the instructions behind all thought, all creativity is scalar energy, then eventually we're going to start living and working more closely with the scalar energy spectrum.
How do you,
I say get away from electromagnetic
yeah.
energy as fast as we can.
How do you use this to uncover that gift?
When I'm working with people, the instruments that I'm working with are very strong, and many people say that their dream state is enhanced, meaning that we have such a profound influence upon their brain waves that they're finally getting proper sleep and maybe the proper instructions that they need to be a happy person, a productive person. Okay?
Yeah.
So I frequently consider this analogy. If you have to jumpstart your car, you have a dead battery. I believe a scalar energy instrument over the course of time can jumpstart your brain, can jumpstart your 7 chakras. I think some people just get in a rut, or they just need a jumpstart.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you feel like needs to happen as a researcher? Like, what needs to happen for not only this is obviously raising a lot of awareness, but what needs to happen for this field to advance and develop, I guess?
Awareness
Yeah.
and acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100 years ago, if you would have told somebody that this device could contact somebody in Europe and you could speak to somebody 1,000, 2,000 miles away, that'd be difficult. As long as we can show that this is tenable, that this research is valid, and that there are benefits. Many people benefit from our quantum sessions, and then they tell their friends. And that's what it's going to boil down to. It's a grassroots movement. See, I don't have big money behind me. There's no way I can advertise. I don't have that type of money. So what do? I approach people. I say, try this. It works. Our quantum healing works. And they say, what do you mean by a photograph? So I explain the process. And by word of mouth, it gets out. So my point is this. It's all going to boil down to people. Every movement boils down to people. When you have a grassroots movement and enough people see that and see the merit of anything, it will be successful. 100 years ago, there wasn't a computer. There was a grassroots movement. People educated themselves. People see the benefit of computers, and now they're indispensable.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if this is operating on the electromagnetic side as you've described it, but like, I think there's more acceptance towards like energy kind of healing, right? I mean, you see like acupuncture is supposed to, absolve stagnant chi, for example, or Reiki, for instance, through healing hands and that non-physical contact. And I don't know the basis behind that. If people are describing that as you're working with scalar energy, if you're working on the electromagnetic side, but there seems to be an interest in this.
And there is, and there should be. And people have seen that acupuncture, acupressure does work. Now, what's the point? Well, many of those practitioners are really working with chi or scalar energy. And there are certain meridians or certain points in the body that will respond to that type of energy. So it's instructional. I've always said we have 7 chakras we do in alignment. Those chakras spin because scalar energy is a spinning wave. And if we really look at what empowers the 7 chakras, there's 7 scalar energy processing points.
Yeah. And so now you described a little bit of the process, but someone sends in a photo to you. What are the steps for you on your end?
Yeah. So I'll use this as an example. I actually take the photograph and I place it in an instrument.
Okay.
Now, there are 3 processes, and I'll explain this. When I want to target, say, a microbe, a germ, I actually take a photograph of the germ and I place it right next to the quantum field. Okay. So this is a photograph of the herpes virus that I place right next to my photograph. So these are 2 information fields. My photograph is sharing information with the herpes virus. If my quantum field, if I have the herpes virus, the herpes virus energy would enter into my quantum field and herpes would be eradicated, destroyed. So I actually match up the quantum signature, a photograph of a microbe, to the quantum signature of a photograph, a person. And by sending that information, I can destroy the herpes virus. I can eradicate it. Now, I can prove that in my laboratory by way of my instrument with this type of photograph. I cannot prove that with people. So ultimately, people will share a testimony and they'll tell me, well, after you treated me, I don't have any more outbreaks of the herpes virus, and I actually had a viral load test, and I showed that there's no longer herpes in my body. So consider if this is the apple, scalar energy.
Yeah.
I cannot prove or disprove the orange, which is electromagnetic activity and electromagnetic outcome. So there's two realities here. I can prove my work with the photograph. I cannot prove my work with people because I don't work on people.
Right.
But I will say this, after I work on the photograph, people have a similar benefit, if not identical.
Do you try to follow up and see if they like can provide you with some of their, their results or?
Yeah, I do. On our website, we have 2,000 test results and or testimonies,
Yeah.
but we leave it up to the people.
Yeah.
So now this is the real consideration as to whether this will ever be valid. We're going to have to prove that a photograph contains scalar energy, has some type of signature, and it can actually influence a biological person. I think it can. Can I prove that? No. I can't prove that. Now keep in mind, this new science, there's so much we need to do.
Yeah.
In my laboratory, I can prove, and I can work with a photograph, and I can prove everything in my laboratory. But keep in mind, people are 1,000 miles, 5,000 miles from my laboratory. I don't know how they feel.
The light signature, I want to understand that a little bit more. So is that something that, is that consistent from birth all the way till when you die?
Yes, very good. Yeah, everybody, whether it's your fingerprint or your scalar light signature, it stays with you for life. Actually, your scalar light signature stays with you for eternity because everybody's unique. In other words, if somebody sent me photographs, say, of a collage like that,
Yeah.
okay, the instrument would pick out each quantum person and send the quantum field, send that person scalar energy distinct of the other. Meaning what? Well, today in my laboratory, I have photographs from around the world. I work with 500,000 people. So the instrument, scalar intelligence, recognizes 500,000 people and will send energy to those 500,000 people in the quantum field.
Now this, I imagine this is something that you can't do on your own, because if you're saying that, like you get the picture of somebody else, you don't want to be in their presence because there's that interaction between those two, between the electromagnetic field there. You probably couldn't do this on yourself then.
I've when I work with the instrument, my hand or my body is close to the instrument,
Right.
and I do believe it has an immediate effect upon me.
Okay.
So has the instrument worked directly for me? Yes. Can I say that about everybody else? No. I have to be scientific about
Sure.
this. One example doesn't prove
Yeah.
the case for the rule. Why do I work with photographs? It's clean, it's easy, you transcend time and space, and I could work with 500,000 people, and I am. Today I work with 500,000 people by way of a collage. We have Christian missionaries and social activists that send us photographs from people around the world, or collages. Sometimes we will receive a collage of 1,000 people. Say we miniaturize the photograph.
Yeah.
Meaning what? Well, this is the easy way of quantum healing. I don't want to travel to India and Pakistan every day. I have nothing against that,
Yeah.
but I receive photographs from India and Pakistan on a frequent basis.
Right.
Okay, so in order to keep my overhead low, so to speak, and in order to be able to do this efficiently, and to enter into this new science, we're transcending, we're getting away from the brick and mortar. The brick and mortar is fine, but it's an impediment. If we could work with people around the world by a photograph, that's simple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Let's remove all the impediments, all the obstacles. One of my goals is, Rupesh, is to treat 1 billion people a year by way of their photograph.
Now, do they have to know?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. This is why we have so many agents. We work with so many social activists around the world.
Okay.
We've been doing this now for 13 years, and we have people from around the world sending us photographs,
Yeah.
either single photographs or collages on a daily basis. Right. We receive so many photographs.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is that if you found, like, photographs are a dime a dozen, obviously, these days online, and you found an original photograph of someone, they didn't know that you were working with them. Could anything happen in that case, I guess? Or does the photograph have to be submitted under their volition, or, yeah?
We want people to upload the photographs of their volition. That's why we allow for the free trial. Right. Anybody can visit the website and send us photographs.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, in the future, I could foresee how some people would want to take a drone over a city and just photograph 10,000 people at a time. Well, is that possible? Yeah. Sure, it's possible.
Now, can this be diagnostic in any way? Like, can you identify issues for people, or does somebody have to communicate that they have these problems, and then you kind of work with it that way?
Yeah, I have a standardized session, and when I'm trying to eradicate a pathogen, right. I just simply match up the photograph of the pathogen to the photograph of a person. Yeah. So I don't diagnose per se. I let the instrument diagnose.
Okay, so you might run through, so even if somebody doesn't tell you any issues with them, you might run through various different pictures of different pathogens or different, okay, and then...
I have hundreds of thousands of photographs of pathogens and parasites. Yep. On any given day, I program the instrument to scan those hundreds of thousands of photographs of viruses, bacteria, and protozoan. And if a person has that signature, has that pathogen in their body, their quantum body, it will be eradicated. So what am I getting at? This is easy to program. I can easily work with 500,000 people a day. I am doing that. And today I programmed this morning, I programmed already 200,000 species of microbes into those 500,000 people. So when you're working with photographs, with a scalar energy instrument, you could easily work with 500,000 people a day and scan them for 200, 300,000 different species of pathogens.
That scalar energy instrument, what powers that, or like how does that even work?
Yeah, that's a good point. I just use regular household current for that.
Okay.
This AC current, and I'm able to take a electromagnetic signal and convert it into scalar.
Okay.
What I've discovered, one of my predecessors discovered, you can take AC, convert it into scalar, or take scalar and then break it down into AC. So electricity into scalar and vice versa, scalar into electricity. Now, what does that mean? It's bidirectional. So in the universe, we see that scalar will sometimes degrade into electricity. And in some cases, you can upgrade electricity into scalar. That in and of itself should be proof that there are two dimensions, because there's two energies, and that it's a bidirectional relationship.
I'm pausing because this is kind of wild, Tom.
Yeah, I know it is. It's quite profound. I'm going to give you, for instance. I contend, and other scalar energy researchers contend, that lightning always originates as a scalar wave. Now, consider this. Scalar energy is benign. It's just a download of instructions. Many times, it's been reported that people have been struck by lightning. Mm-hmm. The lightning has not harmed them. It may have given them a surge of energy. It may have knocked them off their horse, but they were not in any way vaporized or electrocuted. Meaning what? Many people who are struck by lightning, that lightning is still in its scalar waveform. Scalar energy cannot electrocute. Whereas other people have been struck by lightning and they're instantly practically incinerated because the scalar energy has already degraded into electricity. And if you're hit with 1,000,000 volts of electricity, you're going to die on the spot. You'll be electrocuted.
Right.
And sometimes it's been shown to boil your blood. And some people actually explode after being struck by lightning. Now, why are there two outcomes? Why is it that some people are struck by lightning are not hurt? There's no physical harm. It's just a surge of scalar energy going through their body. It's still in the scalar energy component. But scalar energy will degrade into electricity, and others who've been struck by lightning die on the spot.
Yeah.
Because that scalar wave has already degraded into electricity.
So if the lightning was a scalar wave, would it be visible?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In that quantity, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anytime you see, at least lightning in its early stages, that's a sign of scalar energy. That is so bright, and it's such a powerful manifestation of scalar energy. That's a good example. You can see with your naked eye scalar energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consider that. I don't think the audience spends too much time musing about this. I have. Why is it that there's two outcomes when people are struck by lightning? Well, there has to be two different energies.
I'm sure I've heard cases of people surviving lightning strikes, but I would imagine most people assume that you're gone if you're getting hit by lightning.
Yeah. Here's an interesting side. Some people have been struck by lightning, and they've been cured of cancer. And it's believed that scalar energy has that genetic code in it, or that scalar energy, when it's in a strong force, can correct the genome, can correct mutation. So some people that are struck by lightning have been cured of cancer. Meaning what? That there's scalar intelligence in a lightning strike.
Yeah. You said you get lots of testimonials online. Have there been a couple that you could share that you were just, it kind of set you back? It kind of took you off your chair, for instance, that you're just, wow, this has some profound effects on people.
Thank you. Over the years, we've been working with people pro bono in Africa. We've been working with HIV/AIDS clinics and also HIV/AIDS clinics throughout the world. And a particular HIV/AIDS clinic in Tanzania submitted photographs to us. So we've been working with the people in Tanzania by way of their photograph. And everybody that we've worked with over the past few years now tells us, they report, it's their testimony that they've been cured. Not one of them has HIV.
Wow.
Not one. Now, I've never been to Tanzania. Again, I received photographs from Christian missionaries around the world, and everybody in Tanzania is telling us that they've returned to work, that they're healthy, that they've given up on their antiviral medication, they don't need it. And every person has said that they feel very healthy, that they do not have any viral load for HIV.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's that kind of effect is incredible.
It's music to my ears. Now, in my laboratory, I can detect the HIV virus on a photograph.
Yeah.
And I can send energy to eradicate the HIV virus, which is an energetic signal. Everything, including a virus, has an energetic signal or an energetic fingerprint.
Yeah.
So I can eradicate the HIV virus on my photograph. But what is happening to that person in Tanzania, I don't know. Because a scalar science is not the electromagnetic science or what we consider Newtonian physics at play in Tanzania. So if my work proves to be true, then apparently the scalar energy signature on a person's photograph is the same scalar energy signal at a distance.
Yeah. I hope, Tom, that like you said, not able to measure this at this moment, but I hope that there's a time and place where our physical minds can actually absorb this in a way that we're used to absorbing other kinds of information that may have been proven through our normal means, because the benefits that you're describing obviously are profound, and the reach sounds incredible.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of my goals is to work with 1 billion people a year by way of their photograph. And that is tenable. This is not some pie in the sky idea of mine. Every week additional volunteers come on board saying, yes, we'll take photographs. We'll take photographs of an orphanage or our school, etc. So the day is coming in which we will be the global quantum healer of mankind. The day is coming that we will work with 1 billion people a year by way of their photograph.
Yeah. What are your friends and family, and how do people respond to the work that you do?
It's very favorable.
Okay.
This is grassroots all from start to finish, and people are very supportive, because when people see the merit, when people can understand that this is a benefit to mankind, I have many friends. People are very supportive of our work. And I'm going to keep it grassroots, to be quite frank. I don't want to, there's many corrupt governments and corrupt corporations. I don't want anything to do with corruption. So we're going to keep this with the people. The people will make this happen. We're a people movement. It's all grassroots.
Yeah. As a researcher, and I think about, I think a good scientific approach is trying to always prove your hypothesis wrong, right? You never want to set your experiments up in a way that favors your hypothesis. If you're a really good scientist, you're going to try to do your darnest to prove yourself wrong.
Correct.
How would you say, have you internalized that process, and how does that work for you as a researcher?
Well, if we can work with millions of people around the world, and we have, and many of those people report favorable results, then there's some merit to what I'm working with, because you cannot manipulate millions of people around the world. Most of these people that I work with, I don't know their name. Today I work with 500,000 people in my lab. I don't know their name. I have no connection to them. I have no control over their lives.
Yeah.
If they send in a favorable testimony, well, it's not by my influence.
Right.
The testimonies on our website are a unilateral expression. I have no influence over those testimonies.
You don't screen or edit them or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So this is that's probably as close as to a double blind test as we're going to get. Okay? Because people are providing their information. I don't know who is sending me photographs. I don't know what the outcome is, but I'm blind to the outcome, so to speak, but the outcome is favorable.
There must have been a time, though, Tom, where when as you're realizing this, that you're just like, this is like, were there ever doubts and I don't know, was there ever a point where you're just like, this can't be real, or maybe were there moments where you're just like, why am I focusing on this? Or
no, I've never looked back.
Okay.
When I first started working with scalar energy instruments in 1993, 1994, I saw the immediate effect upon myself. For instance, when I first started working, I had some bacterial congestion, some type of sinus infection. It was gone right after I worked with myself. I said, well, there's some merit here.
That was in the 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Okay.
Then I started working with family and friends, and they said, yeah, whatever you did, I don't have sinus infection anymore.
Okay.
So, and here's the kit and caboodle, as I say. When you start working with dogs and cats, and the dogs and cats feel better,
something's there. Something's working.
Yeah, you can't influence a dog or cat.
Yeah. I want to give you a bit of time to talk about the how people can access you and the services that you offer, and then if you're okay, we always ask our guests 2 questions, and wouldn't mind wrapping up in that way. But want to give you a little bit of space to talk about how you do support people and how people can access your work.
Okay, fine, thank you. I think the best way to prove this is by a free trial, and that's been our staple. So our website, scalarlight.com. Visit the website. Anybody in the world can email us a photograph. Now, all we ask is just your bust shot from the neck up. Don't take your shirt off. That's not necessary. We just need your face. And we will perform these scalar sessions, this quantum healing. It's all by way of your photograph. We will balance your chakras. We will eliminate microbes, and we're also able to create nutrients. It's called the standardized approach. So, scalarlight.com, upload your photograph, read the articles if you want before you send us a photograph. And you can include your family members, your pets, and then you decide if there is merit. You decide if this is viable quantum healing. We leave it up to the people. Again, this is all about people. It's a grassroots movement. You decide if this is of benefit.
One final question, I guess, is do the effects, are they long lasting, or does somebody, would someone have to resubmit their photo, or I don't know if you've had experiences of that?
We've seen, for instance, when people come to us, say with the herpes virus or the HIV virus, we can eradicate that. And it is long-standing as long as you don't become reinfected. If you become reinfected, then you probably have to send us your photograph again. Can I give you a blanket statement? No. And not to be condescending here, but everybody's different.
Yep.
So everybody has a different experience. This is why we want everybody in the world to at least once send in your photograph for a free session. Everybody's unique. There's so many variables, so I won't even get into that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tom. And this is, for me, this has been brand new, and I appreciate you being open and creating the space for me to ask all these questions. And I hope you didn't feel like I was in any way
very good questions.
Attacking you or anything like that. I genuinely was curious about it, and so I appreciate that. There are two questions that we always ask our guests, and it just kind of humanizes the conversation a bit. The first one's our 5 for dinner question: dead or alive, who are 5 people you'd want to have dinner with? I'd be curious to know if you'd have them together or if they'd be individual conversations. But what do you think?
Yeah, I actually asked that question to some of my friends. That's a great. I have a high regard for Mother Teresa, so I'd love to visit with her and have a meal with her. Pope John Paul, I thought he was a man of a very holy. Yeah, the second. Yep. Pope John Paul II. I'd love to meet him and have dinner with him. And Tesla, I would have given anything to meet him likewise. Hieronymus, another scalar energy inventor, would love to have met him. And a few other scalar energy researchers, and one by the name of Moray, Thomas Moray, Kozyrev, a Russian scientist. Viktor Grebennikov, who invented a scalar energy flying platform, an anti-gravity platform. I would have loved to have met him. All of these people, we had them in our grasp, and we should have paid a greater attention to them, or we should have tried to emulate them. And, they're gone now. They're gone.
Yeah. That's great. That's very cool. What is there a meal that you think would work there?
Whatever they want, we could have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm interested in their conversation.
Yeah. Awesome. Last question. Besides the circle of life, what do you know for sure?
That God exists and God loves us. That if we love God, love our neighbor, love ourselves, that's the perfect world. Yeah, it's rather simple, Rupesh. I don't know why people lose sight of that. Love God, love your neighbor, love yourself.
That's wonderful. Tom, thank you so much again for joining us today. We'll put all of Tom's information in our show notes and his website that you can reach him at and take him up on the offer of maybe sending your photograph or working or exploring this field of research. Very interesting. Again, Tom, thank you so much for all your time today. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation.
I have. Great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, everyone. Well, thanks for joining us today, and see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.